Hello, and thank you for taking time this weekend to join us here on KREM 2 News. I'm Cody Proctor, and this is the KREM 2 News Weekend Review. We know life gets busy, and it can be tough to keep up with all the news. So let's get you updated on some of the headlines from this past week. A story we've been following throughout the week.
These are going to have an effect on consumers, and be pretty significant in the size.
Ryan Herzog's been an associate professor of economics at Gonzaga University since 2009. He says he's worried about the impact of the newly announced tariffs on consumers and the U.S.'s relationship with other countries.
These relationships, these friendships that we built, right, are slowly going to be deteriorating.
That includes the relationships with Canada and China, two of the nation's and the state of Washington's largest trading partners. On Friday, President Trump's imposed what's now a 54% tariff on goods from China. He's also issued a 25% tariff on Canadian goods. But recently, even more tariffs are in play, including a 49% tariff on Cambodia, 48% on Laos, and 47% on Madagascar. That means increased prices on clothes, food, new cars, and car parts, as well as electronics. Those are set to start later this month.
We're getting tariffs that are pretty across the board, all over the place.
President Trump says the tariffs aim to revive U.S. manufacturing, but Herzog cautions that's complicated.
We don't have a lot of these resources. One of the things we talk about is a comparative advantage. Sometimes it's just cheaper for countries to produce a product than it is in the United States.
Herzog says the rate of these price hikes will only force people to either pay those higher prices or double down on cheaper options. And he says the number of people doing the latter is concerning.
Okay, I'm going to try to get a little bit more out of my phone. I'm going to try to buy more secondhand clothes. I'm going to get my cars repaired. All of those things are going to now be more expensive because other people are going to be doing the same stuff.
While Herzog says the tariffs and their impact appear extreme, there's an element of waiting to see what will take hold and for how long.
But I do think you're still waiting to find out if these tariffs are going to be in place 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road. And it's hard to plan if you don't know that.
Spokane's C&H Foreign Auto Repair sees car after car for repairs and general maintenance. It's owner Scott Cushman's family business.
I've been actually running and owning it for 8 years. The father started it actually in 1977.
It's a business Cushman says relies heavily on the business's European warehouses across the United States. Those warehouses get all their parts from Europe and Asia. Those continents are just a few of many areas President Donald Trump set tariffs against. That's 34% on imports from China on top of the existing 20% tariff and 20% on the European Union. President Trump says this is an attempt to boost the making of goods and services in the U.S. Cushman says it'll hit his and his customers' wallets hard.
Definitely we'll see a cost increase, I'm sure, on parts. We'll also see, I think, more in automotive repair and maintenance because I think people won't be buying as many new cars because possibly of the tariffs that are going to be coming our way.
It's an uncertainty Cushman isn't a fan of.
It creates a little bit of frustration and a little bit of unknowns and uncertainties.
But he says that's not stopping him and his staff from serving their customers.
Just keeping everybody's vehicle obviously on the road dependable and reliable.
Keeping their work reliable while the world trading climate is anything but.
It's going to be a business impact, and we'll just have to accept it as we need to and adjust as we need to as well.
Right now, 2/3 of NIOSH staff are being laid off today. That includes leadership as well as upper management. And the rest of the layoffs for the rest of the employees will be on June 30th. That is according to the union that represents the staff here at the building behind me. The American Federation of Government Workers Local 1916 union told me the building is moving into a shutdown transition. There was an indication of layoffs sent yesterday, but that notification did not include a timeline. The union says this was a surprise.
I have concerns as the local president, obviously, of safety, number one, of employees. So without having management or safety or facilities there, I'm concerned about the employees working without the supervision, let alone the individuals that can respond in the event of an emergency.
This facility in Spokane falls under the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services as well as the Center for Disease Control. The CDC website says the building here in Spokane is the largest facility west of the Mississippi River, and it is the headquarters for the Western States Division. Projects range from oil and gas extraction, maritime safety and health, and Western outreach and epidemiology.
They're doing different types of research associated with mines. So again, we want to ensure that when miners go into a mine, that they are safe.
I talked to one employee who also confirmed the layoffs. The person I spoke to received a notice of intent for reduction in force. You can see this on your screen now. They told us they were heading into a staff meeting to learn more details of what all this means. I did reach out to the facility for comment. They did decline to comment at this time. Other offices across the country that are seeing these same layoffs are going to be in Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, as well as Morgantown and West Virginia. This is a developing story, so we will continue to update our viewers as we learn more. I'm reporting right now at the Logan neighborhood. Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
Federal workers at the Seattle-based Head Start regional office showed up to work Tuesday only to find their jobs were cut. Tonight, a Washington association that supports Head Start programs says there are still no answers as to how crucial funding and training will be handled going forward. Across the country, confused U.S. Health and Human Services workers lined up outside offices. Some soon discovered they no longer had jobs.
They couldn't even get into the office. They were locked out.
Joel Ryan with the Washington Association of Head Start and ECAP says that's the fate that greeted 6 Head Start office employees in Seattle Tuesday. The office serves Head Start programs across Washington, Idaho, Oregon, and Alaska.
We are serving kids who are very low income. 15% of Head Start kids are experiencing homelessness. 18% of kids are kids that have disabilities.
Head Start serves around 15,000 kids in Washington and 4,000 in Idaho, preparing them for kindergarten. But with the regional office shut down, it's unclear how these programs will get vital federal grant money.
The most extreme example is your grant gets so far delayed that you don't have any money, like you are not in good standing and can't offer services.
More likely, Ryan says, local programs going without training or child safety resources. The association is now calling on Congress to investigate the closures, which shut down 5 of the nation's Head Start regional offices.
I think what they will find is this was done in an incredibly haphazard manner. It was mean-spirited, it was callous. They being the Trump administration, have not even sent out an email explaining that these cuts took place, how it's going to work moving forward. There's been zero communication.
Spokane Colleges runs 11 Head Start sites like this one at the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center. College leadership is now encouraging families it'll keep these programs running, even with huge voids in information about the fate of a majority of the program's funding.
Hop, hop, hop like a bunny.
For around 700 children across Spokane County,
Good job.
Head Start is the jump start they need for school and life. It's why Spokane College's Chancellor Kevin Brockbank feels so passionately this can't be its end.
If you take Head Start out of this community, there will be a ripple effect that will last for decades.
The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, under Secretary Robert Kennedy, appears to be consolidating Head Start regional offices by half. That meant the immediate closure of the Seattle-based Region 10 office Tuesday.
For many, many years, that has been our main conduit to the Office of Head Start in Washington, D.C.
The closure hasn't just severed that tie, it's left Spokane colleges largely in the dark. Brockbank says there are still no answers as to how consolidation could impact the college's $16 million Head Start grant. In other words, 80% of the program's funding.
There's nowhere to direct that request to at this point. As the offices have changed, it leaves us with a void in connecting effectively with the federal government. And that's, of course, one of our concerns.
Brockbank says the Trump administration's also scrutinizing the viability of Head Start entirely.
Really concerning to us.
He says they're advocating any way they can, including to Congress. This program is worth every penny in federal money.
Children who would not have that kind of opportunity for that kind of early learning is invaluable. You can talk to instructors in K-12 who will tell you they can see who the Head Start kids are when they walk in the classroom.
He just hopes, passionately, their voices are heard.
If Head Start funds are taken away, it will cause a larger impact that will not be positive.
Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Welcome back to the KREM 2 News Week in Review. Before we get back to this week's headlines, we want to remind you you can get the latest news and weather forecast anytime you want on KREM 2 Plus. It's our streaming app you can watch on your TV, and best of all, it's free. We hope you'll check it out, but now let's get back to the Week in Review. Here's an update from Olympia, where Washington lawmakers are in session.
Washington Governor Bob Ferguson is addressing the state's operating budget just 3 weeks before the conclusion of the legislative session.
And I want to start by saying how much I appreciate the hard work of both the House and the Senate.
But he says if the legislature wishes to complete its work on time, it needs to immediately move the budget discussions in a significantly different direction. Governor Ferguson believes the wealth tax is untested, difficult to implement, and he expects it will face an immediate challenge in court.
The legal arguments for a wealth tax are untested. The courts could go either way on that issue. It would be irresponsible to rely on an untested new tax to balance our budget, particularly given the situation we face with the federal government.
The governor is also anticipating more federal budget cuts that will have significant impacts on Washington state. He believes the best thing the state can do in preparation is maintain the state's reserves, particularly the rainy day fund. I spoke with Eastern Washington legislators to hear their reactions to the governor's two biggest concerns with the budgets from both chambers.
The wealth that's being created in Washington state doesn't just come from wealthy folks. It comes from folks showing up to work every single day. And I think if our governor takes a closer look at the decisions that are being made both on the House and the Senate side, he can find a better appreciation for why we are looking at taxing wealth more fairly in our state.
More and more taxes piled on at a time when people are already hurting. Right now, insurance is going up. I mean, your homeowner's insurance is going up, your car insurance is going up, food is going up. And so now we're going to go for massive, the largest tax increase in state history is what was being proposed. The citizens of the state cannot handle it at this time.
KREM 2 News is committed to bringing you more to every story. Here now, a deeper look beyond the headline.
Washington state's legislature has less than a month to hammer out the state's budget.
There's still a long way to go between the governor's budget and the House proposed and the Senate proposed.
Spokane Mayor Lisa Brown met with Governor Bob Ferguson last weekend. She learned funding for affordable housing and a Spokane-specific encampment resolution program are at risk. But the mayor feels optimistic these funding sources will remain intact.
I'm hopeful, especially on the housing front, because I think there has been this shared recognition that we need more housing in order to make housing more affordable.
The two also discussed the future of the North-South Freeway. Mayor Brown told the governor she supports the Senate's gas tax proposal as she believes it would keep the corridor project on track.
I think that that's the path to making sure that with rising construction costs and inflation that we can actually get the corridor completed.
Mayor Brown also used her visit with the governor to express her interest in bringing back housing to empty lots like these in East Central. The Washington State Department of Transportation purchased and vacated hundreds of properties along this stretch of I-90 to make space for construction activity associated with building the North-South corridor.
But now, as we're starting to look to the end of it and to the connection finally being made to I-90, that land will be available to be turned back into productive uses.
So I kind of just seen how it thrived, and then I kind of seen how it died, and I kind of want to be part of the revamping part of East Central.
Teresa Brooks grew up in East Central. She'd love to see life brought back to this part of her neighborhood.
I think that's a great idea, the mayor wanting to use it, because right now it's like just becoming just empty land, and when you're driving on the freeway, it's like, what's going on there?
Development here is still being decided. Meantime, Spokane's mayor awaits a final state operating budget and how Spokane will move forward under the finalized version. Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
As we go to break, here's a check of your weekend forecast. Thank you for watching the KREM 2 News Week in Review. I'm Cody Proctor. It's been a busy week all across the Inland Northwest, so let's help catch you up on some stories you might have missed. In continuing coverage this week.
These two shootings happened within days of each other. Moses Lake police now confirming they believe this second drive-by was in retaliation to the first one.
Well, the investigators have indicated that the two are connected.
Two shootings 8 days apart leaves an entire community on edge.
The perpetrators, we have pretty solid information that they were involved in gang activity.
Captain Jeff Sursley with the Moses Lake Police Department says the motive for the initial drive-by shooting back on March 21st that killed 14-year-old Mario Amezcua Santoyo and injured 4 others is still unclear. But police believe the second shooting on March 29th was done in retaliation by rival gangs, the Norteños and Sureños.
It appears that the victims were not gang affiliated from the information we currently have. We believe that it's wrong place, wrong time.
On March 29th, officers responded to the 9800 block of Olympic Drive at around 3:45 a.m., where they found multiple empty casings and bullet holes inside of a car and home. 5 people were sleeping inside, and the gunshots narrowly missed a 1-year-old child. Police later found a suspect vehicle and got a search warrant for the house it was parked in front of. Police seized 12 guns and found evidence of cocaine sales. Police then arrested a 14-year-old and 17-year-old for first-degree assault and drive-by.
When things like this happen, it always is impactful to everybody.
Captain Sursley says after both of these shootings, Moses Lake Police Department has increased the amount of officers out in the community as well as the ones inside of schools to make sure everyone's protected.
We're never going to stop all the thefts. We're never going to stop all the violence, but we are going to be extremely effective in reacting to it.
Captain Sursley says despite it being an anxious time for the Moses Lake community, the police department will continue to work with federal partners to get guns off the streets and target criminal organizations. To find out more about both of these shootings, just head to our website, KREM.com. Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
Before we wrap up this edition of the KREM 2 News Week in Review, we have one more story you might have missed this past week.
Well, the Idaho Transportation Department tells us they are resurfacing an 8-mile stretch of I-90, a project that is expected to last through the fall of 2026.
Kind of between Wolf Lodge and the east side of 4th of July Pass. But within that, they're also going to be addressing some drainage issues, replacing some culverts, adding lighting, guardrail, barrier, all that type of stuff.
ITD says drivers should expect lane reductions, slowdowns, and flaggers out on the roads, and work will be conducted during daytime hours.
Part of this project is obviously rehabbing the pavement. There were some soft spots, some cracking and things like that, and that's kind of the last step before the road really starts falling apart. So it's just part of that preventative ongoing maintenance for all of the roadways that we maintain here in North Idaho.
Other construction projects that will slow down drive time include the I-90 expansion between Post Falls and Coeur d'Alene, I-90 State Highway 41 interchange, and the I-90 bridge replacement near Cataldo. ITD does encourage drivers to download the free app, the Idaho 511 system, to get all the latest updates about traffic, especially as summertime gets busy in North Idaho for tourist season. Reporting right here in the newsroom, Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
Thank you for joining us for the KREM 2 News Week in Review. Be sure to keep it here for more news and weather updates throughout the weekend. I'm Cody Proctor. Thanks for watching.